People come and ask me now, Greg, what have you done differently? The question is whether or not you need to hit rock bottom in order to engineer significant personal change. I came from a place where I was an absolute failure. And the answer is, one of the most important questions you need to ask yourself if you want to be successful in business is, am I being honest with myself about the areas where I need to improve or change? I've been super blessed, and I came from a place where I was an absolute failure. My family was in disarray. My father and my sister had died of cancer. My marriage was wrecked. My business that I had started was wrecked, making the least amount of money that I'd ever made in my professional life. And I was sleeping on a couch, basically bankrupt. I had over $250,000 in debt. With my girlfriend at the time, who became my business partner and wife now, we had $465,000 in debt and $10,000 cash. That's when we started this business right here. So we're a total disaster. And one thing had changed at that point. I realized that I couldn't do it on my own anymore. And I had a spiritual conversion at that point. I talk about this. I feel like I had an encounter with God. I really believe that's what happened. But what has happened now that I've transitioned and I have really tremendous success. I have a great family. I've got 3 beautiful daughters. I'm very successful in business. My health is good. For somebody who's my age, I'm 52. I'm starting to feel a little older, but I'm in the best shape of my life. I definitely am healthier now than I was 10 years ago. I don't drink anymore. I don't smoke, all that stuff. I've made some really radical changes in my life, and it took some time. But most importantly, what happened is when I went through all of that bad stuff, I realized that I can't do it on my own. And the big mistake I see, because people come and ask me now, Greg, what have you done differently? Like, clearly you've got something, and I want what you got, so what have you done differently? And I will tell you a secret. I can usually almost always see what someone's flaw is, or the flaws that they have. And so I will ask them a question. If you ever sit down and talk with me, this is how it's gonna go. Can I be direct with you? Yes, please. Okay, right now your biggest problem is X. I don't really think it's X. It's X, it's X. It's all over your face. Let me tell you why it's not X. I stopped talking. We're done. Now, I'm not trying to be arrogant here. It's pretty obvious to somebody who's overcome X that X is your problem. And yet, you don't listen. Or I'm gonna take a webinar and then, okay, for $50,000, I can solve X for you. I don't do that, so that's not me, but I'm saying they go and they take a class and they're like, okay, but I don't wanna pay that amount to solve X. Okay, what if you solved X and you can make $5 million? Would you pay the $50,000? Of course you would. I paid a lot of money for classes. I'm not sure I always got the value, but it was good to pay for the classes. But my point is, are you coachable? Don't go ask the local celebrity or whatever is what your problem is. You need to have somebody who's overcome those problems. But when they tell you, you need to listen. You got to seek out that advice. So the biggest problem most people have is they want to have a change in their life, but they don't want to change anything that's wrong with them. I want to make $50 million. I want to climb the ladder, but I don't want to take my foot off the first step. And so you've got to be receptive. So I talk to entrepreneurs. I talk to people who need family counseling even. I have a problem in my marriage. Okay, I've wrecked a marriage, so I know what that's like. And I have a great marriage now, so I know what that's like. Here's the XYZ problem. Okay, that's all you. It's not me, it's my spouse. No, it's you. It's not me. Okay, I can't help you. I wish I could. And let me tell you, before I was on the couch, I knew a lot. And then I ended up sleeping on a couch and I said, maybe I need to shut up and listen. I started praying, God, show me. And it was pretty bad, it was painful, but he fortunately worked out those things. And am I doing everything great? No. But I can definitely tell a lot of people what's going on. But when somebody tells you, man, you got to listen. And sometimes you got to pay to take the class. Sometimes you got to get the advice, pay for it, trying to figure out whether that's valuable or not. But the truth is you got to value that advice and realize that if you reach a limit, you're the one who's the limiting factor. It's not the marketplace. It's not people trying to rip you off. It's you, and you need to change. To me, that was rock bottom because I was the top of my class in law school. I was a shooting star attorneys. I had a lot of success, apparent success, and yet this is where I ended up. For me, that was rock bottom. But I look back and I say, you know what? I probably needed to do that because I needed that change, but you don't need to do that in order to work a big change. You can, and you can condition yourself to do it, but you've got to be real honest with yourself about the things you need to change. Because again, a lot of people want to climb the ladder of change by keeping one foot on the ground, and you cannot do that. And you've got to be willing to admit your shortcomings and weaknesses and seek out the change. If you're coachable, it's great. But when somebody tells you, particularly somebody who's very successful tells you, hey, you're doing X wrong, you got to let that go. You got to say, you know what, I'm doing X wrong, I'm going to change it. You can always come back to doing X. You can always come back to that. But why not try changing it? So that's something you got to consider. For me, rock bottom was where I needed to be to really transform me into who I wanted to be. But I don't think it's necessary. I've seen people who've gone the other way but they've got to be coachable, and you've got to be open. You've got to have the right people around you to help you, and you got to listen to those right people.
If this resonates with you, let me know below, or if you'd like us to talk about something else, leave us a comment.